on Sactown Sports.
15 minutes. You want to win your bracket? We have some notes for you to do that. And we have one last note as Kyle, Brendan, who's in the SAC chat, working hard to help us get to the bottom of the Isaac Jones situation. So based on some recalibrated math, the number isn't 5 games because it doesn't matter whether he played or not. It's looking more like the number is 1 game.
It is 1 game. Yes. I went back and cracked the numbers, which is basically just were they active on their basketball reference. So as long as basketball reference is correct.
Right.
Isaac Jones is at 49 games active. Mason Jones is at 25 games active, and Isaiah Crawford is at 15 games active. And you can have up to 50 on the two-way. Yeah,
and maybe it's an Isaiah Crawford type day. I know there are some Kings fans that are that deep in Kings Twitter and breaking down those numbers. There are some Kings fans that really love Isaiah Crawford.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard good things about him from Deuce, who does a lot of their G League games as well. According to Fanspo also, and I don't know how reliable this exactly is because cap math is hard in the NBA, it says the Kings have $3.2 million of tax space to work with. So they will stay under the luxury tax threshold by $3.2 million. Now, I don't know exactly how that works in terms of converting to a full NBA contract. I know Keon, who's a similar situation to Isaac Jones in terms of being a two-way player converted to NBA contract. He's at 2.1 million. So I guess if it's below 3.2, which it should be, they can convert him to a full two-way contract, but I don't know exactly if that number is accurate or not because, like I said, NBA cap math is very hard.
Yes, you've done plenty, Kyle. Great job. You have definitely earned your paycheck today. And the question is, Domantas Sabonis, should he come back to maybe feel like he's earning his paycheck when he's good and ready? Or should we have a conversation about shutting him down? If he's out at least 10 days, that puts him for reevaluation. That's the kicker, too. The reevaluation is in 10 days. For Saturday, the 29th, against the Orlando Magic, that would essentially give the Kings, 16 days and 9 games before the play-in, heading in on a 6-game road trip against the Magic, the Pacers, the Wizards, the Hornets, the Cavs, and the Pistons. So if he's not ready, basically, and the Kings target the end of that road trip for his return, that leaves them with 6 days and 3 regular season games, one of which they may rest starters versus Phoenix before they go to the play-in tournament. So basically, you might not need him in Orlando or in Indiana. They're a good team, but in Washington or Charlotte, do you want to take that chance of bringing him back early if you're pretty much locked into the 9 and he's one of your most important pieces? I think the other question is, when you think shutting down, Kyle, are you thinking play-in included or just the regular season?
I think it should be on the table if we find out it's a grade 2 sprain of the ankle, because those typically take 4 to 6 weeks to recover from. And I caveat that by saying the Shams report didn't give us details on what exactly is going on. So we're waiting for either the Kings to provide an update or someone else to report that it's a grade 1 or grade 2 ankle sprain, because if they say it's grade 2, which is where you have some ligament damage, that and not necessarily torn ligaments, but just damage, then you're looking at 4 to 6 weeks of recovery. And I would say if it's 4 to 6 weeks and you're locked into the play-in, you should consider shutting it down until possibly beyond the play-in, if not right before you're getting ready to go into the play-in. But we don't have that information yet.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. I know a lot of us feel like we don't. I was gonna say I know Domantas Sabonis, but I don't. But I know how he comes off on the basketball court, And on top of the fact that they have been all in as far as making this timeline worth it. So there is no way. And even if it's grade 2, I think that they'd probably be thinking about bringing him back early. So I just don't see it happening, man. Not from either side, not from the Kings side, not from Domantas Sabonis' side.
They should consider it.
I don't think it'll be considered.
Okay.
I just don't think so. I think that there is, funny enough, quote unquote, too much on the line, but I simply just don't think that either side feels like they are in a position, because there's just so much on the table in the off season that I don't see it doing. And I just want to reread this, Kyle, from Shams. Sacramento Kings star Domantas Sabonis will miss at least 10 days with a right ankle sprain, sources tell ESPN. The NBA's leading rebounder returned last week after sitting for 6 straight games and will now miss additional time. Kings are 3-6 without Sabonis. That's another reason I don't think it'll happen. He's already missed so many games, not just for him, just not him personally, but as a team. I just think that he really wants to be out there, and I would be very surprised if that even comes up. Back to what we were talking about, okay? Unless, of course, if the Suns if there is a chance that this team is going to fall out of the play-in, and let's say this next 5 games goes horribly for the Kings and they lose every game, and the Suns win every game and the Mavericks win every game, and from 1.8% chance of the Kings missing the play-in to 30% or whatever it is, and it's just not working. And I think the only argument I would have for you is, would you bring him back slightly early, depending on how bad it is? Would you bring him back slightly early or not give him that extra rest for a play-in push? If they're already in the play-in and they're just sitting in the play-in, you bring him back when he says he's ready and he gets cleared. If you're getting to that time and now you're on the outside looking in of the play-in, I would say, all right, let's go back to those numbers about keeping the pick, and you're going to keep the pick and not rush your star back. So it would have to go super south for me to even have that conversation.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here and just operate under the scenario where it's a grade 2 ankle sprain, which standard recovery is 4 to 6, sometimes 8 weeks for that injury. And the injury happens on, March 17th. So 4 weeks would be April 17th, which puts you at the date of the play-in.
Right.
So in this hypothetical scenario, are you saying, if you're the Kings, do we need to bring him back 8 games early for what? To reintegrate into the system? Like, he is the system. Right. He's the point center. How much reintegrating do you have to do versus the risk of him re-aggravating that injury to the point where it's now he's got no chance of playing?
Right.
So that's kind of the fine line that you're playing with under this scenario where it's a grade 2 sprain. Again, we don't have that information yet specifically, but how do they compartmentalize the need to have him come back for a push versus the most important goal is just get ready for April 16th or whatever that date is?
And that is where I'm at. If you need him to stay in the play-in, you've already not done your job. That's how I see it. If you're in the play-in, then obviously if he's ready to go, you play him leading up to it. But I'm not bringing him back to be a savior. I'm bringing him back to get him back in the fold and prepare for the play-in. But if they drop and they're trying to fight to stay in the play-in, it's just maybe not meant to be. Yeah. And you could fall out and then get to keep your pick.
If you start dropping games to Charlotte and Orlando and Washington, like maybe
someone's trying to tell you that. I saw a joke about, and I only have experienced this with the ladies, but just in general, when someone says they're a bad texter and how you take that, right? They're really trying to tell you they're not that interested. And the joke was when she says she's a bad texter, but every time you see her, she's holding her phone. But she claimed, hey, I'm just sorry, I'm just not a great texter. No, she's a bad texter for you.
Yes.
So she's trying to tell you something. If they can't beat some of these teams on that road trip, this homestand, we know it's going to be tough. But if that road trip is squirrely, meanwhile, the Suns are doing their thing.
The Suns finally figure out.
After 3 years, the Suns figure it out.
The Suns rally around Budenholzer.
Then maybe she's trying to tell you something, and it's not that she's a bad texter. She's a bad texter for you. On the other side, we will discuss the Cinderella possibilities for March Madness. 1 o'clock, we have our Kings Cavs preview coming up. But when we return, we will tell you how to win your March Madness bracket. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
On the move. Got some